we spoke with director Michael Connors about his new film, Allegiance, and how he may have actually given his stars in the film the worst set trailer ever. Take a look. Hi Nation, I'm here on the screening room with Michael Connors, writer and director of Allegiance. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you. Happy to be here.
So what was your inspiration for this film?
Inspiration, I was a former Army officer and spent 4 years in the Army, 3 years on active duty and 1 year in the National Guard. And it was, I think, the experience of just my active duty experience and going in the National Guard at the time frame of me. I got out in June of 2001 and watched sort of the military change overnight because of September 11th. And I watched the National Guard get transformed from this weekend warrior world into fighting alongside active duty guys. And I just always felt like that it was a part of the military that nobody had ever seen. Like I said, these weekend warrior guys, and the stresses that got brought about because of those deployments was something that I just thought was so interesting and made for a good idea for a movie. So.
And this off as a short film, but this is your first feature. You expanded into a feature, right?
Yes, it was my thesis film in film school, and in 2006, and a long time ago. And so I graduated with that, and then actually a producer who I met in LA a couple years ago, I just used the short and it got me work and whatever in Los Angeles, and then a couple years ago a producer came up and said, oh, this would be a great idea to open it up into a feature. And I was like, you know, that's actually a pretty good idea. So I went back, reworked the script into a 2 hour or hour and a half version of it, and it kind of fit the indie genre of like story set in like one place, one night. It kind of like from a production standpoint was something that we could actually on an independent film budget raise the money and do. And then obviously we got very lucky with a great cast to come together, because one of the things I'm most proud of, it's a military movie and not one gunshot is fired the entire movie.
Wow.
Yeah. So yes, there's a fist fight that I'm very proud of, but there's no like gunplay, and there's still a lot of tension and suspense, and I think that's mostly due to the performances and the actors. So I always say it's a military movie, but there's no explosions and no gunshots.
What were some of the problems that you may not have anticipated with a feature film?
Well, we certainly putting the money together, obviously getting it all ready to be shot. But that stuff did come around. It was more just like the basic shooting. We had a 22-day schedule, so you're trying to shoot a feature in 22 days, which is fast and furious. The weather was cold. Obviously we don't have amenities, and the actors were amazing. Like a lot of these guys are used to big movies, big TV shows, trailers, the whole 9 yards, and we had a minivan for them to sit in, all of them, next to like the freezing cold set. I remember just like opening the door, having like all 6 or 7 of them, like major TV actors and musicians and Bow Wow, and just sticking my head in and being like, this is cool. I get to tell all these actors what to do, and they're just sitting there in the cold in a minivan.
So you have a really eclectic cast. How did you come about all these members? You've got Rush Machete, Seth Gabel, Shad, who most of us know as Bow Wow.
We had an amazing casting director, and when we were putting the movie together, our financiers, in a lot of indie films, they try to get big name folks to get the movie made, but our financiers were just like, we want the best possible cast, which freed us up to go after the best possible actors who fit the roles. And we were shooting in New York, so we went after a lot of like New York-based actors, and then a few of them like Val is Miami-based and Seth is LA-based, but it was really just finding the best people. And then when we got to New York, we had the opportunity to get Dominic Fumusa, who was in Nurse Jackie, who's based in New York, and Reshma was based in New York, and Malik, who's based in New York. But it really, like, one of the most things I'm most proud of is the ensemble nature of the movie. Like, to me, the old school like military genre movies, whether it be like Platoon or even going back to like the Best Years of Our Lives or whatever, like the old Hollywood genre war movie, always had great ensembles with very unique characters that sort of filled out the ranks of the movie. And we felt like with Allegiance, we have a really good, interesting, unique mix of guys in it. So
yeah, most of us know Bow Wow as a musician, but he's done a few films lately. Do you think that his past as a performer helps transition into the film medium, or do you think that it's conflicting in some ways and it makes it a little harder?
No, I think like his musical background complements his acting very well, and his process is he comes at it as a musician in terms of like emotionally he gets his beats in the scenes musically. So he has a rhythm that he goes through in his scenes. Obviously, we didn't turn the movie into a musical, but which would have been interesting to do Allegiance as a musical, but But Val would, you know, sort of attack the scene, you know, from like a rhythm standpoint. He would sort of get the rhythm of the scene through his dialogue as a musician, and it really was an interesting way to for him to work. And I thought, obviously, from his performance, did a really nice job.
So, what's one thing that you would hope that the audience would take away from the movie? What are you trying to engage us with?
Definitely see like the military from a different perspective than you usually see. Either you get like sort of the one, like the sort of act of valor, you know, Navy SEAL, Army Ranger version of the military, but it's badass, a lot of explosions, or some movies, you know, sort of go the other way where they just portray soldiers as victims. And we wanted to show soldiers as like real human beings with tough decisions to make, and see the National Guard, which we hadn't seen in a lot of movies. So hopefully they take away, you know, that the military is not some sort of monolith of, you know, ideas, and it's a lot of different people with different ideas and different problems. So.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, very nice having you.
Okay.
Thank you, Nation. We'll be back.